another day. Going out to pick up the group. I'm not sure what's going on here at this intersection. I don't think there's a race or anything. Oh, it says flagger event ahead. Be prepared to stop. I'm gonna go and push the crossing thing.
It turned out to be a triathlon that was going on in our area.
If you've done, sometimes it doesn't change. So I'm gonna push it. The pedestrian light. So I can get the green. Let's go back. Yep, got the green. Excellent. All right. Good morning. So there must be a road race or something. They have a lot of runners in the area. We had the Ironman a few weeks ago, the Ironman qualifier for Kona, and so there must be a run event going on. There's always something going on in the Woodlands. It's such a cool place if you like to be outdoors. See over there? That's a path behind those trees that run pretty much throughout the Woodlands. You can ride a bike on there if you want. You can walk, jog, you know. And we use it sometimes on our bikes to combine with the routes to get where we need to go, depending on what's going on. So that's another event staffer here at this corner. I'm gonna get out of this lane. I think it's for the event. Good morning. So I'm going to join the group. It's about a little after 7. I'm a bit early. I slept well and got up like an hour before I normally do, like 4:30 in the morning. I usually get up at 5:30. So I feel great. I had a good training week and my body feels strong, so should be an interesting ride. I'll get some clips for you guys.
On this ride, I left Northampton, rode into the Woodlands. There was actually a triathlon going on. You'll see I filmed a little bit of the road closures. Picked up the group, we headed down Honea-Egypt Road, through the neighborhood, lots of action, all the way into Keenan. We took Springbranch Road, all the way past Gary, and we passed through Montgomery. We stopped the filming there. We went out on Bailey Grove off of 1097, came down 149, and stopped at Taco. Then we headed back in. By the time we got past Mill Route to about Raven Chapel, I let the group go and just kind of spun in. Just taking my time to really enjoy riding solo. I think that you will enjoy the clips that we put together for you. We've got some nice action this Saturday. We're on the open road. We're on Honea-Egypt Community Road. We're headed northwest. This road had been underwater in the lowest sections of it a couple of weeks ago.
Not too crazy, I hope. Hey, man.
That's Frank right there, the blue and navy blue jersey. This is Tim. I'm at the front. I kind of wanted to get everybody riding on this road. I don't like us spread out on this road. So I'm at the front, leading the pacing. We're in Egypt, Texas, on Honea-Egypt Community Road. There are a lot of homes on either side of this road behind those trees that you see lining the road.
How have you been, Tim? Not too bad. Takes you on a couple rides, man.
We've avoided this road for a couple of weeks because of the rains we had 2 weeks ago. There was a lot of flooding in the area. And at the bottom of the hill we're going to go down in about probably 5 kilometers, I'll point out where the water had been over the road. It's Lake Creek. And that section of it parallels Sendera Ranch Road. And you saw, I filmed last week's ride, you saw the water. The bridge on Sendera Ranch Road, which is what we call Fish Creek in certain sections, is about almost 10 feet off the ground. So when you see a lot of water on there, we know this road is submerged at its lowest point. Even for cars, they end up closing certain sections of it because these people will try to drive in there, and that water that is over the road is moving.
It's like 6 hours.
It can move a vehicle.
Oh, okay.
In the sun. That salt up and down my arms.
The driver that just went by the opposite direction, I don't like to see them moving. They move to the far side of their lane because it encourages these other drivers to try and pass. Instead of them just going by and let that driver wait so he or she can use the whole lane, they want to move over to let him come by. It's like he can wait for a few seconds. There's nothing that critical going on. You have an emergency, you call an ambulance. Or people leave home feeling like they're entitled to float to their destination. Part of driving is what you encounter between A to B. That's what it's about. You're not the only one using it. It's a public utility. So when you leave home, you have to allot for things that may come up on your route. You can't just say, oh, it's going to take me 15 minutes. It may not that day. It might take you less sometimes. It might take you a little more sometimes, depending on what's happening. And you adjust and you adapt to what's going on. This is the bottom of this climb that's coming up. This is where it floods. We're descending here, and I'm just going through the gears. So for a couple of weeks we avoided coming through there because usually that's underwater. That's why the road's all chopped up.
Single file.
And the reason why Paul says single file is these guys should know better. By riding single file on a road like this, you stay where the right tire of the car rides. It gives them a better view to see the oncoming traffic to help them make the decisions when to go around you. Instead of being spread out all over. Now, you do have the right to use the whole lane if you choose to, but as a courtesy, we don't. All this area here, it floods. So whenever it rains a lot, we just don't come through here because in this curve as well, there'll be water over the road. And then plus, if you guys are in a tight line, it's easier for them to come around because they know what you guys are doing. But when you got people drifting all over, it's a little sketchy. I'm going to pull off. I've been pulling this whole time. I'm going to pull off right around here somewhere, and I'm going to drift it back. Before I do that, I use my mirror to make sure there are no other road users coming around, and then I pull off. Like right here, we should be single file. There's no reason for Frank to be over there. He needs to be behind. Yeah, exactly, like that. We need to be in a line. He moved over because he saw me. When I swing off, I don't go all the way by the yellow. I go just far enough. I'm looking for a gap, and Paul's going to tell me to go. I'm trying to minimize my expenditure. I accelerate a little bit because you don't want to slow down too much. If I had slowed down too much, I would have had to raise my pace again just to get in the line. Laura is pulling. So you can see how much easier it is for people behind us to now see around us and make their decision when to pass. So on these narrow roads, it's best to ride where you see where I am right now. I'm drifting because this guy is moving also. So what's happening is as Frank moves, Tim moves. Tim may either go right, left, or whatever. The reason we do that is we're not braking. By drifting, I'm using the wind, the friction of the road to scrub off speed. So there's no braking going on. Braking is kind of wasteful. So only do that if you absolutely have to. Plus, when you got people following you, it's better not to brake. So your changes in speed are gradual, kind of like you're skating. You drift. Laura and I were talking about it at the store on this ride. I mentioned to her she was really easy to follow because it was like when she would move, she would kind of glide, like you're skiing or skating. And so it was easy to move with her because the motions were gradual, they were not drastic. That's the way you have to move when you're close to other cyclists, you know. And don't overlap. Get as close as you can within a foot. You see, I'm soft pedaling and I stop pedaling. Early on when I started the channel, there was a subscriber that came on and posted that he lived up north somewhere in, I think, the New York area. And he said that he had done a group ride where they told them they should never coast in the pace line. That did not make any sense to me. I mean, what Paul is saying, see my watts were like 400 and something. Laura at the front, and when the roads go up, she doesn't really have to try. She just she gets low, and you just feel that you need more power to hold the pace. That's why he said El Pirata. She gets low like Pantani used to do in the hills. I titled this ride Improve Your Threshold because that was my goal for this ride. I had planned to work hard this Saturday because Friday yesterday I took the day completely off and took care of just business stuff, running around, errands, whatever. Just took the day off the bike. If I'm going to skip a workout, I like to skip like a recovery ride or a very easy ride. I don't like to skip the harder efforts because sometimes you plan and then life happens. You can't always be on the bike. You can't neglect things that you need to take care of just because you want to ride a bike, because then you create headaches for yourself. I downshift there as the road goes up. I cannot stress the importance of fit. We ride with a lot of riders frequently. Some riders are on this ride, some riders during the week. And it's clear to me that they could use a bike fit, and they have chosen not to invest in it. We see them shaking their hands during the ride because it's numb. We see them bouncing when the efforts get high because they're sitting too far forward and they have a lot of weight on the bars. That affects not only your performance, it affects your energy expenditure, and it also affects your comfort. So everything starts with getting a good fit. That should be your first investment. I don't care how fancy your gadget and setup is. If it's not comfortable, you won't create the power. You won't look forward to riding. And the fit takes little tweaks. If you try to do it by yourself and you don't really know what you're doing, it can take you forever, decades, and you still won't get it right. So it helps to get professional assistance to get you there. We're turning into the neighborhood now. The exit gate was open, so a couple of riders, Laura and somebody got through, but then this car was coming, and wisely Jennifer turned to the right. Look, we have the code. When you hear somebody say, yeah, it's not a good idea, somebody, I think Clement Champoussin, John is entering the code. We have the code. There's no reason for us to do that, especially with a car coming. And Jennifer said it's not a good idea, or something like that. So Laura and them are going to wait for us. But we do go through that gate sometimes. If nothing's coming, it's fine. But if there's a car coming, nah. it's not always a wise choice.
I know. I can't believe it. No, this is a bonus.
It is actually what Paul and John are talking about. It is actually 67 degrees. Let's see, it says 23 Celsius, but it feels like 20 Celsius, which is like 67, 69, let's say. Very nice. Compared to Thursday this week, Thursday was muggy and sticky. This morning it's actually dry. It's a drier air. We're on the Grand Lake Estates Drive, I believe they call it. We're in Grand Lake Estates. That's what this community is called. We use the major roads. We come to these areas. It's quieter here. This is where you can spread out. There's not a whole lot of high volume traffic. Paul is laughing because what we're doing here is we're intentionally slowing down so that riders that are in the back can come through.
Me know when those kids in Vail in '86.
What he's talking about is the jersey that I'm wearing. He said he saw it on Le Mans, and, you know, I got that jersey I'm wearing because of Greg LeMond. It's because of Greg LeMond that I got into cycling. I got into serious cycling because of him when I got his book after he won the 1986 Tour de France. If it weren't because of Greg LeMond, I would not have discovered serious bicycling. And I'm wearing the jersey, a replica of the jersey that he wore in 1985 when he assisted basically Bernard Hinault to win his 5th Tour de France. Greg could have won that tour, but the team tactics were not up front, let's put it that way. So that's a replica. He was actually wearing number 17 that year. That's what that jersey is, a copy of it. It's the all-arounders jersey. They no longer have it in the Tour de France. The all-around rider used to wear this colorful jersey. It's really beautiful. I wish they had continued it. I'm sure they had their reasons. So now you've got the climber's jersey, you know, the leader's jersey. You've got all those categories separate, the green jersey and so forth. This jersey was for the rider who was the top all-arounder. It was the multicolored jersey that incorporated polka dot, green jersey, piece of the yellow, all of that was in there. It was a nice category they had. I like it. It's an okay replica. The pockets are too high in the back. It's a pain to access them sometimes. But I like the fit. That's how a race jersey is supposed to fit you. You shouldn't have to think about it. Just wrap you nice and tightly. No flapping. That's been my biggest thing with cycling kits, getting the fit right. So I always am leery when I switch to trying something from a new manufacturer, because they all may say large. You got to look at the dimensions of what they consider large and where you fit. But that's more important than them calling it large or extra large. An extra large for one manufacturer might be a large for another, and so forth and so on. So you can't go by that. So it has been probably, let's see, 6 or 7 weeks since I was off the bike, and my form is coming in. I can feel it. I feel better. I'm developing more power in the lower zones and so forth and so on. So tuning is a science, and consistency matters. So I'm functioning about 12 beats below where I used to ride 3 weeks ago at these efforts. And that's a sure sign that your body is getting stronger and you're getting fitter. So you have to use your training sessions, what I call, in a productive manner. There is no point going out to work on, let's say, anaerobic threshold when you're still tired from the last workout. you're not gonna, your fitness will actually decrease. You're not gonna improve. It's not a good use of your time. So productive training matters. You can ride every day, but don't push every day. If you have the time to ride a lot, you have to be even more cautious. And if you don't have the time to ride a lot, then what you do is you use those busy times as an opportunity to rest between your harder sessions. And what I do for my hard sessions is I make sure I give myself a minimum of 10 kilometers to warm up. 20 is better, but 10 is better than nothing. So I ride about 16 kilometers to the start of these rides. So by the time I get there, I'm warmed up. And then I ride another 16 kilometers home solo, dropping the effort to make sure I get an opportunity to recover from the harder efforts. So the next day I'm not so tight. That's the main benefit of a recovery session. If your legs feel heavy, you can spin for maybe 30 minutes on the trainer or wherever. That helps loosen you. It's almost like getting a massage on the bike. Pace picks up here a little bit. Almost 400 watts. Everybody climbs at a different effort. I try not to do too much 105, 110 spinning on the climbs. It's not the best use of my energy for my body type, my frame. 85 to 95 works best for me. That's the range. I don't watch it. I just listen to what my body wants to do during those moments. You can see my cadence. It's in the 80s right now. This road is going up slightly and turning about 2%. I like to come out here, even during the week sometimes. I like to come out this way because I want to ride about 10 kilometers without having to stop. Get a good workout. That's a very good use of your time. I don't like riding in the city that much, where there are too many stop signs or stop lights. Because every time I stop, my heart rate drops really low. It's like you got to start all over again. It's like it's an interrupted session, so to speak. So try to pick routes that, especially if you're trying to do sustained effort training, pick routes that you can ride for, say, 10, 15 minutes without having to stop. You got to get out of town to find routes like that. I mean, someplace get a big enough loop where you can do that. That matters. This road is up. It might be 1%, yeah, 1 point something. So throughout the ride, you need to not hesitate to shift and try to lighten the load as you shift. You've probably experienced it when you're riding with other riders. When they shift, you hear clank, 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 clank. You know, like you can hear the gear getting in. That means they're not lightening up. They're still applying force to the pedals while the chain is being derailed. It's a strain on your drivetrain. So you always need to lighten up just a bit in that moment as the chain is trying to get into place. And once it gets into place, then you can apply full force. That's important. So there's a lot you're dealing with when you're riding to do it properly. So about a month ago when we would come through here, I was operating probably like almost 170 beats per minute. And as you can see, I'm at 159 thereabouts. I wasn't watching it on this ride. I could tell just by how I felt that it just didn't seem as hard as it did 3 weeks ago. And that's how you know you're improving. But you're not going to improve by sitting on the couch. You got to get out. You got to put your butt in the saddle. And you got to have focused training to get there quickly. This climb continues. It's not much. It's 1.5%, 2%, but it's a nice drag. And the ironic thing is that about a week ago, I got up one day just knowing that my fitness was improving. You just get up and you can tell that my legs felt stronger, my breathing, just generally the way I felt upon getting up. I could tell that my form was coming. You can tell if you've trained long enough. You can tell when you're getting in better condition. It's a nice feeling to know that the work you put in is working out. I do that. When I do that, you saw that I moved to the left. I want to see where those little reflectors are. I want to see around the riders when we go over those bumps. Because if you're directly behind somebody, you may hit one of those things. You always want to make sure you can see around the riders. We're not really going very fast here, and it's a slight grade, so I am not really tightly drafting, but I'm still within about 1.5 feet or so. I'm soft pedaling here because somebody slowed down. And these are the moments in the ride where you can take a break. You can get a drink. Don't wait till you stop to drink. You need to keep drinking. You're not drinking because you're necessarily thirsty. You're getting fluids in your system so that your urine is not pickled with lactate at the stop. If you don't drink enough when you get to the stop and you go use the restroom, your urine is like yellow. You know, that's not good for your body because you're generating lactate when you ride. Different, depending on the levels, you generate different levels of lactate, so you need to drink. So when we get down here, there is no card to trigger the gate, and the code box is on the other side of the gate. So we end up hanging out for a bit, and I think, Jennifer ends up climbing over the fence and going around and entering the code. The code's on the outside.
Who's the youngest person here? Or the tallest? Neither one is me. You look young and tall.
I turn around, I go up the climb just to kind of keep moving. They're messing around. It's like I'm not climbing over that fence. The shoes that we wear with that carbon sole, it is not designed for you to be climbing over stuff and all that. It's very slippery.
Hold on.
So for me, when I come here, I just wait till a car comes. It's usually not more than 30 seconds. In fact, he told Jennifer she's in the distance that's trying to look in the distance, trying to get over that fence.
Be careful.
Near the stop sign. And you got to be careful because the bottom of our shoes are very slippery. And I'm not going to do that. When I come here, I just wait.
I'm guessing they change it every year.
Because people come in, and in a little bit, the gates are going to open. In fact, as soon as Jennifer goes around to enter the code, cars galore show up. So we just should have waited. I don't climb over that fence or anything. I'm not sure why they didn't put the box on the inside as well. It's really odd. Yeah, then there comes the car. So it's like we could have just waited about another 10 seconds. So from the other side, we entered the code from outside the gate. But she'd already entered the code when these cars arrived, so we just rolled through. The shoes we have are not designed for climbing or even walking. They're for cycling. The bottom stiff, it's carbon. And if you have mountain bike shoes on, that's different.
I would say you probably look a lot better going than almost anybody else out.
So you can see my heart rate drop to like 115. That's another reason I don't like to stop. So it's about 40 or 50 beats below where I'm usually working. And it's like when I'm riding solo, if I come to a long light, I do a little loop. I go to the right because we can turn right on red with care. I turn right, I ride the other way, do a U-turn just to keep moving. Especially on my shorter rides, I want to keep the effort high. So I want to maximize staying in the proper zone for that 45-minute ride or that 1-hour ride. Don't feel like you got to ride fast all the time. You have your days where you're working on certain, you're not going to win any big events if you're competitive in zone 1 or zone 2, but you're using that to build your foundation. Without that, your quality won't be very good or lasting.
I keep saying it. Oh, pirata.
Yeah, he's talking about when Laura was pulling on Honea, we could feel the effort in the back. And he said El Pirata.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Nice morning, very nice. Lower humidity than earlier than Thursday, than 2 days ago. What I was talking about was you should have rides where you're going out at a crawl pace, and you're working on building capillaries. This is throughout the year because you use those rides to recover. So if you have the time, you don't need to be off the bike because you're tired. Just be disciplined and go out and ride slowly and focus on your form. That's the time you can pay attention to how you feel on the bike. Is this saddle fitting me well? How are these shoes? How are the cleats? That's when we work those things out. Because when it's time to ride hard, everything should be ready for you to push. So it's important to take 45 minutes to an hour and a half on a day where you're not training on anything and just go out and spin. And a lot of people call it active recovery. Or you could even incorporate that into your endurance days where you're staying in the lower zones, up to zone 2. Avoid spending a lot of time in zone 3, tempo zone. You're not going to get maximum value. Stay in the lower zones and then on your hard days work threshold or higher. So my plan on this ride was to ride hard when the roads would go up because my characteristics favor flat terrain, favor my body type. So I work more on climbs than I need to in the other areas. So on the flat roads, I can carry a lot of power for a longer time. In the climbs, I really got to work because I have to put out more watts because I'm heavier. I'm not going to ride with the fastest guys in the climb, but I've got to train myself to be able to sustain high output when I'm climbing. So you have to work on the areas that don't favor you as well as maintain the areas that do favor you. So you're going to see on Springbranch Road, I'm going to spend a lot of time near the front because it's up and down. That's where the little guys usually ride away from us. But today my goal was to be intent on putting out a high output on those climbs. This is Frank. So it is easier riding in the group, easier in terms of it's easier to push yourself because you have company. The miles click by easier because you have company, all of that. So group rides are easier. Group rides are good as an impetus to help you improve. Some riders prefer to ride solo, but I think that you miss out if you never do a group ride. It's kind of like if you train all the time by yourself and you never go to a test race, so to speak, to see how you're doing, you miss out. So if you have groups in your area, every now and then join them. They push you. They make you work more than you would do by yourself. Because by yourself, you don't necessarily bomb every climb that comes, but you got to do it if the group is doing it. So the riding dynamics are different in a group. And try to pick a group that doesn't have too many restrictions, because it's kind of annoying to get on your bike if somebody wants to tell you how to ride. You get that nonsense at work. This is leisure. I mean, nobody telling me how to ride. I've got a saddle and pedals. There's a guy in the area named Greg Shot. He said, it's your bike. You sit on it. You decide how fast you pedal and who you ride with. And I remember that phrase. It made sense to me.
All right.
You decide how fast you ride. If they're going too fast for you, let them go. But you have to make it work for you. I think group riding is good. I think it helps you improve. It improves your handling, your effort, expenditure, all of that. It takes a lot of skill to follow a wheel that's moving left and right all the time. You have to pay attention. And anything that improves your handling is a big plus for cycling. Because if all you do is ride the indoor trainer or do Zwift all the time, your handling will suffer. You got to get out on the roads. And you need to be able to handle your bike to avoid not only other cyclists, dogs, potholes, whatever. You got to be able to move that bike around comfortably. Yeah, John pulled off the front and there are cars coming. When we go around here, it's not that bad. But we go around here, somebody's turned the pace up there. And this is another thing in the group. Sometimes the group will do stuff that doesn't make sense. The pace was turned up for like 10 or 15 seconds, then it was turned off. Well, that's not the best use of your energy expenditure. So obviously somebody was doing something that was not sustainable. But those little spurts can tire you out if you're not fit. And those are some of the dynamics that you necessarily wouldn't do by yourself. There are a lot of riders that go out and they're very disciplined and they do 30 seconds on, maybe a minute off, or 1 minute on, 2 minutes off. If you're doing that, that's intervals. But after a while, that can get kind of boring. It's too much structure. So in a group, it just happens like fartlek, the word they use for speed play on the bike. You're not thinking about it, it just happens. So that's the fun thing about a group. So you want to get faster, get around other cyclists that are at your level or higher, and that will make you faster if you push yourself to stay with them. So this is the zone I wanted to work in. I wanted to work between like 155 to 165. That's the area close to my threshold as far as heart rate. That was my goal. I didn't set any alarms or anything on my head unit for that because I can't stand those things beeping even when I'm riding solo. I just remember if I'm riding solo or not that, okay, this is where I want to be when I'm working today. And then I want to be here for, let's say, four sets of 5. Or if I'm going to do 20-minute sessions, work sessions, I say, okay, 2 20-minute sessions, I want to be in this zone. Then when I get back, I look at my numbers to see how much time I spent in these zones to see if I accomplished the workout. And on this ride, I more than did that because I spent more time than I had playing in the zone, which is fine. And then on Sunday, I took it easier. We had more rain coming in the area the day after this ride anyway. So Everything I'm explaining helps you enjoy your cycling, so you don't feel like every time you get on the bike is a speed session. That is not required. It's not necessary, and after a while you might get sick of that. You don't want to do the same thing every day anymore. So I don't waste my energy chasing people I don't know when I'm out riding my bike. I have a purpose for each ride. This is Keenan Cutoff. We are in Keenan, Texas. We're headed west, kind of a northwesterly direction. I'm staying to the right so I can see around Tim. What I try to do, if I'm going to drift right, I try to drift right all the time. So the rider behind me expects that my movement when they slow down, because you know you're following people, you're in the draft, you get sucked along, and you have to back off because it's a little easier. But I consistently drift in the same direction so that the rider behind me can expect my moves to be in that direction. If I'm going to change my line, I always check, and you will see it happen in probably 5 kilometers when we get on, about 3 miles when we get on 149, Farm to Market Road 149. You always need to check to make sure nothing's there before you make a change in your line, a significant change in your line. If you're doing a gradual change, you can always look down to see, but it's your responsibility to check whenever you're changing your line, because somebody can come on your right, left, whatever. Always expect that when you're in the group. Anytime you're around other cyclists, pay attention, be vigilant. That's not the time to relax. You can relax when you're riding solo. That's one reason I'm trying the Garmin Varia RTL 515. It's on my bike right now. I have gotten to like it because when I don't get a beep, that radar is telling me there are no cars coming up behind me, so I don't have to look necessarily. And I have the alerts on the they have an option what they call single tone. When I get a gadget, I like to read everything about it before I get it and after I get it to maximize all the functions, because it comes set with something called a multi-tone, and it's just annoying. It's a lot of beeps every time there's one car. So I didn't turn off the alert. I put it on what they call single tone. Now, where they placed that change didn't make any sense to me. It's in something called a light network on your head unit, like if you have a Garmin or whatever, because it works with a lot of Ant Plus head units. But anyway, they put it in something called a light network as opposed to putting it on the device name itself. So when you go in there, it's not intuitive. I literally had to read the manual, which you can only get online. I downloaded it in PDF. I know a lot of people don't like to read the manual, but if you're going to use the device, it helps. You should read the manual so you can maximize it. So as a result, I have it on single tone. It's like a little chirp, just one. Even if there's 10 cars coming up behind you, you get one chirp, and you get that little circle that comes up, and the color changes. I like that. So it's not annoying. So right here is what I was talking about. I'm on the shoulder. Those guys are on the road. As a habit, I always use the shoulder. You see Chris gets on the shoulder. He's on my wheel. And I look in my mirror. There are cars coming. And this is a busy highway. You know, this guy moves over. So they're on the road. So I get behind them. Then they get on the shoulder. Now, before I go on the shoulder, look, you see, I checked. Because I knew somebody was there. Because by me going on the road, I've taken myself out of the shoulder line. He could have moved up. He could have maybe been descending faster or whatever. So don't assume that the space you left is still clear. Always check. That minimizes surprises. It's important. Nothing different than what you would do in an automobile. You know, you got to check. But not every rider does that. So if you suspect that this rider is a little more reckless, give them room. Make sure that's what we mean when we say protect your front wheel. Don't put your front wheel in harm's way. falling off the bike is not fun. So I do my best to avoid it. I'm not working very hard here. You can see it's just 200 watts or so, because we're going to be turning in about 100 yards. Let's say maybe 150 meters. I'm keeping my eye on my mirror. You see my head? I'm looking down and to the left. I'm looking in my mirror for the cars, because we're going to be turning soon when we go up that hill, so I can let them know, because not everybody's kind of mirror. I love having that mirror. I don't have to turn around. So Chris is looking because he knows we're going to be turning. We're going to tell them that our car's coming. They wanted somebody gets on the road. I said no. I told them car back. Nah, it's clear. Then I tell them to check this hill because it's a blind hill. Cars appear at the last minute. So we have to use that busy road to come on this beautiful, quiet road here. The dangerous dog that used to live here, we haven't seen him recently. There's a slight slowing down to make sure everybody turns off the road, and then it's time to ride again. I don't know how it is in your group, but there's some riders in the area that just never want to go to the front. They want to sit in the back the whole time. It's not because they're not fit. They think they're sneaky. They sit in the back for 50 kilometers and then bomb a hill near the store. I mean, come on, really? Nobody's going to tow you in a competitive race. So Paul is saying watch out, because what I was talking about is what that rider did not do. He was about to come all the way across the lane and he wasn't looking. And he has a habit of doing that. That's why Paul said watch out. Because Paul knows he has a habit of doing that. You can't be going from the white line to the yellow line and not look. That's too much of a change in a group. And just how we've identified those who have a propensity to do that, you need to do the same thing and make sure you give them plenty of warning. And those kind of riders, you make sure they're always on your hip or further back. Don't let him near your front. Because if he bumps your hip, he's more likely to go down, not you. It's your front wheel you need to protect. This is Springbranch Road. I love this road. It's one of my favorite roads in the area. So we only have like 149 is the busiest road we use to come here. It has a shoulder. Especially when you're riding solo on that road, it's a lot easier because the shoulder's wide enough for you. I usually stay real close to the grass and the drivers move over as they go by. So it's not that bad. I don't spend too much time on it. I like these kind of roads. They're neighborhoods. These are ag communities, large acreage owned homes. You know, you see the fencing on the right. These people own animals. They have cows and horses, and you know, there are dogs out here, of course.
Come back.
So you look at my heart rate, 128 beats per minute. 3 weeks ago, it was in the 140s. So when you train properly and rest properly, that's training. The whole cycle is work and rest. You improve. Don't feel like, oh, I rode great today, I got to do more. You better listen to yourself. Is your body ready to do more? Did you get up feeling recovered? That's Logan coming off the front. So next week we're going to do a slightly longer ride. I'm going to do about 75 to 80 miles and put something together. We're doing these routes to this section of town because our local roads, like 1488 that would take us west, is under heavy construction. And it's just not conducive for a big group. So I'm trying not to get the group to use those roads. It's a mess. And it's going to take them a while to fix them. So I'm going to have to get more creative to get us some more interesting routes using these familiar roads. but I want to do about 1,000 meters of climbing next week. Even though it doesn't favor my characteristics, I do like the hills. So we're pushing Springbranch Road, and when we get there, I'm sitting back there. I'm gonna start moving up. Just as he turned the camera around, I was planning on moving up, because when you come to this climb, a lot of times riders will stand or do something, but then they're not really going anywhere, and they end up just being in your way. And when you get blocked on the climb, it messes up your rhythm. So I end up coming to the right as we approach the climb. But when I stand, there's somebody in my way as well. So when we crest the climb, it's like I had to change my rhythm and then move left. Because Paul's gonna take off and go to the front. And then I realized, okay, we need to give him something to film, so that I'm gonna bring the group around. Right here. You'll see me stand, I'm coming up. And as I come up, John's in my way. And there's not enough room for me to go on his right. Because he stands, but he's not really going anywhere. Should have been in a bigger gear. So Paul goes ahead and goes through, just keeping his rhythm. Because I'm not sure why they're slowing down. The climb is not over. So I move actually from the end, the shoulder where I was. I end up moving all the way to the left, because riders are behind Paul and they're not trying to come around. So I'm like, okay, I need to give him a wheel, and I'm gonna come up when we go up in a little bit. You see my watts going up, 340, whatever. I'm coming up. I'm riding on here. See where it's shaved in the middle? That right side is where I ride. And as soon as we get off of there, in a little bit, I'm going to come around. Because the terrain has leveled out. It's not 9% anymore. It's relatively flat with just a slight grade. I'm not going to sit up there long. I'm going to flick my elbow. John's going to go through. Now, nobody's on his wheel, so I go ahead and just accelerate and get on his wheel. A lot of times when you're going very hard, you're not going to have a problem finding a gap. When it's really hard, not everybody wants to be near the front, which I don't understand. I mean, you don't have to be at the front, but you need to hold your place in line if you can. You know, if you're struggling, it is what it is. But when John came around, there was a gap. I just got on his wheel. So about 3 weeks ago, I would have been at 173, maybe 174 with this effort, and I'm right at sweet spot. So it felt very easy on this ride. Plus the temperature, it was a cool morning, so it felt good. So John started going slower, and I just went ahead and went around him. This section of road favors my characteristic. I can push a big gear harder, longer. I'm going through the gears. My plan was, we got a lot of people in the group sitting there to pull. I'm not going to pull the group the whole way, so I'm going to ride until the road starts to go up, then I'm going to wave somebody up. If you watch me on the bike, I mean, my body is not moving unnecessarily, it's just my legs. That comes from you working on your form, but it starts with your bicycle fitting you. That's very important. The road starts to go up, I wave John up, I can sense him I stand. I'm not really doing a sprint. I stand and I'm in a gear that I can just use my upper body to power. There's a house on this road on the left. They have 3 dogs in the yard. They're fenced. But every time we come, they show off their speed. So for example, if we're going the opposite direction, they will run in the opposite direction just to show us how fast they are, because their yard is not very big. So depending on where they are in the yard, they don't care what direction they're running in. They just want to show you how fast they are. So whenever I come around here, I always call out to them, "Show me what you got, boys." And there was only one out this morning. I don't know where the other 2 were. These are slight grades, 1.5, 2.5, but with the gears we're in, when you get there and then the wind, you feel it. So you've got to manage your gearing. Don't be shot there. That's the yard. See, he's on the left. He's running in the same direction, but he was running out of yard. They're fast. They just don't have a big yard. I said, "Show me what you got, boy." It starts barking. So every time I come, especially in the opposite direction, I start early so they can come to the end of that fence and race up alongside me. We've been coming here for years. I've never met the owner. We just know the dogs. So in a little bit, John is going to accelerate again. I'm just going to stay on his wheel. I guess Frank starts to slow down. And that's another thing. Don't stay up front when you're pulling the group. If your speed starts dropping, get off the front. Let somebody else take the lead. Because you're basically putting blood in the water. You're saying, "I don't have it." You know, we got that phrase from Mo. He said, if you're pulling the group and you're doing 19 miles an hour, then before you know it's 18 and 17, you're basically telling people, "I'm struggling." Don't do that. Just get off the front. Take a shortcut and get off the front. Let somebody else go through and hold the pace. And use your energy to get back in the group and sit in. Frank stays up here too long. And so John gets a little impatient because the pace keeps dropping. And he's going to accelerate right here. I'm going to just follow his wheel. And Paulie Longa is going to follow. And I think Frank and Laura are going to slot in. But what ends up happening on this ride is, so you got John, myself, Paul, Laura, Frank. Most of the ride, we're just at the front. Nobody else wants to come and inject effort into the pace. That's what I don't like. If you're good enough to sprint up a hill, you can help your group along. And don't think people don't notice that. Riders that are experienced will see that foolishness. You sit in a group all day and then want to sprint. Like, well, big deal. You need to help your group along. You can sprint, do some of the work, because it makes you stronger anyway. Nobody's going to tow you around for 50 miles in a race. Not going to happen. So you might as well get used to putting your face in the wind. Or your nose in the wind, as we say. So I do like the Varia. The one I have does not have a camera. I didn't feel I needed that. They have a more expensive one with a rear view camera or whatever. This one, what I like is I like the light. I like the intensity. Even on camera, you can actually see the light. It's a lot brighter in real life. And this setting I have varies. When there's a car coming, the intensity of the pulsing changes. And then you have different settings. I like the blinking setting. You got high, medium, low, and the blink. I like the blinking setting. If you use the settings on your head unit, you can put it in auto mode. And all auto mode does is control the intensity of the light. It does not really say what the documentation says. It basically is giving you high, medium, low. Let's say it controls whether you're getting daytime flashing or nighttime flashing. That's all auto mode does. But the documentation claims more than what it actually does. So this entire stretch on Springbranch Road, I was not under any pressure, which felt really good. You know, those are the kind of notes that you put in your training, and you go back and look and see, okay, what have I done in the last 6 weeks since I've been off to get to this point? And then you build on that. That's really training 101. You learn what works for you. I didn't do any big jumps in hours invested in cycling. I've just been more consistent, and I focus on quality because I'm busy. I don't have time to be on the bike full 5 hours every day. And even if you do have the time, why do 4 or 5 hours if you don't have to? You can do something else with that time. If you can get the work done in less time, you're better off. So this is the end of Springbranch Road, and we're going to turn right. John slows down here. I just keep rolling. I go ahead and check for traffic. I look left, it's clear. When we turn, it's a grade. You can see it's a slight, you can feel it. That's the 1.3, whatever it is. Then in that curve, they've scraped the road. Like 3%. I didn't realize it was that much. But you feel it when you turn because it scrubs your speed. So I downshifted, and right here in a little bit I'm going to stand because I hate the surface right here. And you notice when I stand, I'm not sprinting. I just stand to get my gear rolling. You got to save your energy. Don't waste it. Use it when necessary. So as Frank comes on the left, Clement Champoussin is there. That's Logan. I'm looking down to see if there's a wheel. Paul leaves a gap. I'm going to sit on Logan. And we're going to, I think the road, I think it curves a little bit up here. We're going to see two riders in a bit. The camera does not pick it up very well, but this one rider is on the left. The other guy's on the right. They're using up the right lane. And as soon as somebody calls out to him, the reason we called out to him is he was kind of squirrely on his bike. And they were basically taking up the entire lane, just two of them. So we wanted to let them know we're coming by. And as soon as he heard that, he started doing S's on the road. Like he tried to look behind and he did an S, which tells everybody you don't have your handling under control. Nothing says newbie more than that. I was the one that called car up because I don't know why these guys would. I never sit by the yellow line in a blind curve like that. If you stay on your side of the road, you don't have to worry about whether there's a car up or not. It's like, don't do that. Don't sit by the yellow line in a blind curve. There's no reason to be there. I'm not sure why Clement Champoussin is all the way over here. He should be on the right. That's where I would be because it gives you more room away from traffic. Even motorcyclists ride where you see I am. Because they want to leave this buffer. There's no point. There's just the guy on the blue. Paul laughs. It's like he tried to look behind and did an S, which says you haven't worked on your handling. You got to work on your handling. Your bike shouldn't be fishtailing because you're looking behind. And you got to hold. He probably didn't hold near the stem. He's just not used to it. So once again, he's riding across the other lane for what? I don't know. And that's the same thing he did in that curve. Riders get in the group and they get careless. I'm not sure what he's trying to prove. I don't waste my energy. I just start to ride like I would normally ride. I'm not really trying to catch him because there's no point because he's not going anywhere. The road has a lot of ruts and cracks. See, they've been patching it. That's what those dark asphalt lines are. They come and they put oil, kind of like a liquid asphalt, to seal the road so water doesn't get in there. I'm doing about 25, 26 miles an hour. We're going to be turning in about 250 meters. There's a curve in the distance that's going to get us to a light. So I'll move to the right. Laura goes through. So, you know, now he's on the right. He was all the way across the lane at the tracks. I'm not sure why. You can cross those tracks on your side of the road. So it's okay what he did there because this was not a blind corner. You could see there was no car coming. I don't feel the need to do that. This is not a world tour race where you're trying to save distance by cutting across the corner like those riders do. But in their case, the road's closed for them. Now, I stay on my side of the road all the time when I ride. So John Z is going to go to the pedestrian signal on the left. He's out of camera. And as soon as he does, the light changes. So we're going to call out to him and let him know we got the green. There he goes. There. We'll let him know we got the green. You don't need to do that. Because these lights don't always change for bicycles. But somehow it picked us up. This is Highway 105. We're near Montgomery downtown, and there's a high school on the left.
Yep.
Paul, the camera is still on. I was surprised the camera ran. I guess the temperature was perfect because usually it quits. And it's the same battery we always use. It ran. We got a lot of clips. But we're on Highway 105 in Montgomery, Texas. We are west of Lone Star Parkway, where we usually go to Taco. So we're further west of there. It's behind us. We're going up about a mile and a half, so about maybe 2 kilometers up the road. We're going to turn right on Lone Star Parkway, which is a quiet road. There's a high school. They have a ride here called the Grand Fondo, Texas, that starts in this area. There's a high school on the left. See the brown building on the left? That's Magnolia High School. Montgomery High School, sorry. We're in Montgomery. There's a high school on the left there. They have a lot of rides that start in the high school parking lot. A lot of guys will ride from here and go to Anderson, Texas, because there are a lot of hills out there. I had many years of putting the bike in a car, going to cycling rides and events. So nowadays, I just like to clip in at my house and head out. So the light changes here. This road goes up. You can see my watts are up. And they're up because my cadence is also up. So to generate a lot of power without really wearing your legs down, you've got to be in the proper gear. So you got to train your body to spin up those gears so you can do it repeatedly. This is the turn we're turning onto. This is called Lone Star Parkway. We usually approach it from the other end, and Taco Corner's in the middle. We don't go to Taco Corner on this ride until after we do Bailey Grove. In a little bit, I'm going to reach for a gel. I'm going to try to reach for a gel. I have to do it twice because this jersey's pockets are a little higher than I'm used to. I'm always looking around the rider in front of me. I'm trying to find the gel, and when they're in the pocket like that, I've got gels, I've got bars, and at this point, I just want a gel. So I reached for it. The reason I let it go is there was a lot of activity in front of me. That was not the proper moment to have my arm behind me, and now I give myself a little more room, and I'm basically squeezing the gel up. I get it out. You got to practice doing that by yourself. And right now my hand is near the stem. That gives me better control, so the bike tracks as if to say I have both hands on. So I've already ingested the gel. Now I'm putting my trash back in the pocket. And I want to push it down to make sure the wind doesn't flip it out. So all of what I'm doing does not impact Logan, who's on my wheel. You need to practice that when you ride solo. And I chose to do it on a flat to slightly downhill area. Right now it says 0.7, but it didn't feel like we're going up. So you see how Logan's on my left and I'm a little to his right? He can see around me. I can see around Tim. I'm just looking at the road, so I'm looking for debris and whatever else. The reason I'm there is the road is nice and smooth right now there, so I just stay there. But I know Logan's on my left, so my job is to keep drifting to the right, knowing that he's drifting to the left. So we're not braking. It's like a dance. That's the way you have to ride. So he knows what I'm going to do. I know what he's doing. And so because he's drifting to the left, I'm not going to drift to the left without checking if this pavement got real challenging on the right. If I were going to change what I've been doing, I'm going to make sure I let him know by either looking or pointing. Those are the little things you want to pick up. And then people will really enjoy following you. But by making sure I can see around the riders, it's going to help me communicate to the riders behind me. Timely. So I'm not just depending on their signal. So you're not just riding your bike. Even when you're solo, you need to be looking for what's coming. And you communicate to the other drivers on the road. You see all the rocks. So now you see me pointing. So Logan now knows that I'm going to start using the road because there's a lot of stuff on the road. So I didn't wait for them to let us know. I just let him know because I saw it coming. That's the benefit of looking around the rider. I'm letting them know. See all that? We don't want to ride in rocks and stuff there because there's other stuff there. Plus, if you hit that rock the right way, it can give you a pinch flat. So I don't ride in debris. I avoid it. You know, I mean, if it's unsafe, yeah, I'll go through it, but then I'm going to stand up on the pedals and lighten the bike. But it's those little things that make group riding safe and enjoyable. And so when people say that they prefer following an experienced rider, that's what they mean. Because those are the little things that you get from an experienced rider that you don't get from somebody who's not comfortable in the group. Because all their focus is, they're so nervous because they're not used to it, they're not going to give you signals. So as an experienced rider, don't complain about the inexperienced rider. Give him or her more room, knowing that they'll pick up those skills over time. So don't go draft them very close, knowing that they're not very skilled. Then it's on you. And so I always talk about, oh, it's easier to follow Mo, or it's easier to follow Laura, or Paulie Longa, or whatever. You have to know who to follow. It's the same thing when they do the UCI, those UCI road races. All those top guys know who to follow, meaning when this guy goes, I'm going to go with him because he's blah, blah, blah on the GC or this and whatever. You have to pick who to follow. It's the same thing in the amateur racing. You have to follow the people who can sustain efforts. So somebody who's a flash in the pan, when they go, don't waste your energy because he can't work with you in the break. I hope this helps. But I don't know what you did this Saturday, but I had a blast. All my goals were accomplished, all my fitness goals. And so I'm looking forward to next week being a very productive training week. Remember, you get your K's in and keep all the doctors fired. Put it on.